What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, cheesy, smoky, scratch-made, amazing smoked beef and cheddar. That's right, folks, we're making our own smoky roast beef, our homemade onion rolls, and of course, an ooey gooey cheese sauce. Coming up. This is some meat. Pat it dry. And what I got here is a USDA Prime Tri-Tip. Picked this up at the local grocery store, and this should work out just fine for what we're doing today. And that's because today we're taking a look at the Arby's beef and cheddar sandwich, which is essentially a hot roast beef sandwich on an onion roll covered with a lovely creamy cheese sauce, which sounds pretty good to me. Nick, have you ever had an Arby's beef and cheddar before?
No, I've not. I've never been to Arby's.
Really?
I've been there once. It was really bad, and I got sick immediately after. So.
What'd you get?
I don't remember.
Diarrhea?
Maybe it was a beef and cheddar. I blocked that out of my head because it was very traumatic.
I too have never been to Arby's because I cook meat for a living, so I don't need to get fast food meat, but we're still gonna try and make one. But of course, the star of the show is the roast beef, and you can use whatever kind of cut you've got around. You know, an eye round would be fine, a ribeye would be great if you're trying to go super fancy, top loin, sirloin, picanha. Generally, roast beef is made with some leaner cuts, but I think a tri-tip should be a great choice for us because it's got some intramuscular fat, it's got a fat cap on top, and it should slice up great. But taking a look at this thing, first thing we need to do is get it cleaned up because we've got some silver skin, a lot of extra fat on there. Fat cap's looking a little wonky with bits hanging off. And I was really close to going to Costco because the ones they sell are already nicely trimmed up, but it's slightly farther away from my house than I'd like. So we're just gonna go ahead and clean this guy up. Started by removing everything on the back side so we have a nice clean meat side. So we'll take down this silver skin, trying to leave as much meat as possible. Take this fat down on the back side and just overall give it some nice shaping. Meat side looking good, nice and clean. We're gonna flip it over, and I've been debating for a while on how much fat cap I want to leave on this thing because this one's actually got a pretty thick one, so we're definitely going to take it down a little bit. But I want to have some fat in the sandwich so we get a nice juicy roast beef, but at the same time I don't want it to be too fatty. So we're just going to take this down, kind of like a brisket, but you could remove it entirely if that's what you wanted to do. Although the fat cap on a tri-tip can be kind of weird. You know, it kind of wants to like flake up on you a lot. Like right here, you can see how it wants to pull away. So maybe it is best to take the whole thing off, but I guess we'll find out in a couple hours. But also no real need to be super pretty about this because this is going on the meat slicer at the end anyway. But we'll just try our best to make it look nice and get that fat level to where we want it to be. And that is looking pretty good to me. I did take it down a little bit further than I initially thought I would. Again, just so we get some nice clean slices because I'm worried that this fat will kind of catch on the meat grinder blade, but I still want to have some on there to add some extra flavor. So now all we got to do is get this bad boy seasoned up. And my rub of choice today is some good old-fashioned Chuds BBQ steak rub. This stuff is absolutely fantastic on beef, should be great on tri-tip. Very simple rub. Got salt and pepper in there and a lot of other flavors to help kind of amplify the flavor of the beef without overpowering its natural beefy flavor. But nice heavy coating of this stuff. And of course you could use whatever kind of seasoning you like for your roast beef. And again, because this is a rub, we can go on really heavy without having to worry about over seasoning it too much, especially because we're gonna be slicing it super thin. But top and bottom, and please folks, don't forget the sides, come on. And that is looking pretty much perfect to me. Let's go ahead and fire up the pit. And on the pit we go. Got a post oak fire rocking today on the old offset back here. Gonna put this bad boy right about there. Holding right around 250 right now, which is probably where we're gonna keep it for the first little bit, maybe the whole time. Just a nice low and slow smoke because we're aiming to bring this up to an internal temp of about 120 degrees. Next up, let's go ahead and work on our onion buns. Starting by going in with some milk and our eggs. Give that a little mix to break everything up. Followed by our yeast and our sugar. And give that a little mixy poo as well. And then in with the dries, including some bread flour, dough conditioner, and our salt. And knead this for a couple minutes. And once the dough ball has come together, in we go with our softened butter. And now we're gonna mix that for about 10 minutes. And once a nice smooth ball has been formed and it's pulling away cleanly from the sides of the bowl, out it comes. And into a grease bowl we go to double in size for the next hour to hour and 1/2. And now that our dough has doubled in size, out it comes. Wait for it. Boop, punch out the air. And now we're gonna divide it into some 95-gram dough balls. Now grab one of our pieces of dough and fold all the seams to the underside. Pinch it closed and give it a nice table roll so it's nice and tight and nice and round. Like that. And once all balled up, onto a Silpat lined baking sheet these go. I'm gonna cover these in plastic and let them rise again for another 30 to 45 minutes. Next up, let's go ahead and get some caramelized onions going for the top of these buns. And now into a pan, we're gonna go in with some butter, get that melting down nicely, and then in with our sweet onion. Hit that with a pinch of salt, and we're just gonna cook these low and slow for the next, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, just to soften them up, release the sugars, and brown these up a little bit. And just like that, these are starting to look nice and brown. I'm not taking these as far as I would if I was just making regular caramelized onions. I'd probably go a little bit darker than that, but I'm gonna pull these off now because they're gonna continue to cook on top of the buns, and I don't want them to burn. So out they come onto a sheet tray to cool down. Beautiful. And once these have risen a bit and poofed up and looking nice and bun-like, we're gonna go ahead and hit these with an egg wash, just a beaten egg with a little bit of water in there. And once egg wash, we're gonna go down with some of our caramelized onions. And they are a little bit sticky, so we're gonna do our best to get a nice presentation going. And once beautifully onioned, down we go with some poppy seeds. And to top them off, a little bit of flaky salt, just to counter the sweetness of the onions. Beautiful. And now into a 375-degree oven these go until they're looking absolutely beautiful. Although not my prettiest buns, I will admit. I think all the moisture in the onions kind of discolored the tops a little bit, but they smell absolutely fantastic. Very buttery and oniony. But now I'm gonna pop these on a wire rack and let them cool down. Which gives us plenty of time for another episode of Bones Try Something Weird. What's on the menu today, buckaroo?
There's plenty of options. Let's see what we got. I think I'm going between these two.
Let's go for the krill meat.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I want to feel like a whale. I assume you've never had krill before?
Never had krill. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is...
It's like a bunch of tiny little shrimp.
Yeah.
Looks like rice.
Are those eyes? Those little dots?
Probably.
This is very pungent.
Stinky.
Very.
Is this from Tuna Head?
This is from Tuna Head. Thanks, Ivor.
Keeping us fed. Oh boy, going for it.
Yeah. It smells like crab. Yeah. It's like a really dry crab. Not as sweet. A little saltier. I could see using this in a dip to make like a crab style dip.
Krill dip?
Krill dip.
Grill krill dip?
Yeah.
You just ate like an entire generation in that one bite.
Yeah.
Weird.
The texture is not great.
Texture's not good?
It's just like really dry and it's just like crumbly almost.
Okay. Krill meat, huh? That is very crabby. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mix that with a little mayo, put that on a piece of bread.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah. That's not bad. Not weird enough, guys.
Keep them coming. And just like that, after about an hour and a half, this thing has come up to 120 to 125 internal. Decent color on it, but we'll improve on that in a little bit. But for now, we're gonna pull this off and let it rest. And while that steak rests down, let's go ahead and get a couple sauces ready, starting with our Arbys sauce, which is essentially just a tangy, zesty ketchup. So to this ketchup, I'm gonna go ahead and add in some Texas Pete hot sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, brown sugar, granulated onion, granulated garlic, a little bit of salt, and some freshly cracked black pepper. And just go ahead and get that all mixed up. And that is looking pretty good to me. It's a little thick still though, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of water to thin it out. Taste and adjust as you see fit. And to be honest, I've never had Arbys sauce before, so I'm not sure what it's supposed to taste like, but we'll see how this comes out on the sandwich. I totally just spilled off camera. And the last sauce we need to make is our cheddar cheese sauce for this beef and cheddar sandwich. And I've been going back and forth all day on whether or not I want to make more of a queso, kind of emulsified sauce, think nacho cheese sauce, or if I want to do more of a bechamel / Mornay sauce. And I think I'm going to do the latter because using a bechamel will give it a little bit more body and be a little less intense as just melted cheese. You know, if I wanted just cheese on this, I'd probably just put some American cheese on top. But I think the bechamel will give it a really nice consistency while still being nice and cheesy. So, to get our bechamel made, we're gonna start by melting down some butter. And once melted down and nice and bubbly, in we go with our flour. And we're just gonna cook this down just to take the raw edge off of the flour. Making a blonde roux today. And after cooking down for just a couple of minutes, in we go with our milk. A little bit at first, get that mixed in, and then in with the rest. And after bringing that up to a simmer, we've got ourselves a beautiful, nice, thick bechamel, which we're gonna start adding our cheese to. Starting with a few slices of some good old-fashioned American, kind of split the difference between that queso nacho cheese vibe and the Mornay. So we're just gonna get that melted in. I'm gonna do probably 4 slices. And that melted in absolutely beautifully. So now we're gonna go in with some Tillamook mild cheddar. Could go sharp, but again, I don't want it to be too overpoweringly cheesy, but you can do whatever you want. But now we're just gonna keep chipping in cheese, and I might add some more milk along the way because this is starting to look pretty thick, but we're gonna get this as cheesy as we can and make sure it's that perfect beef and cheddar texture. And just like that, all that cheese has melted in and we've got ourselves a beautiful, luxurious cheesy sauce. Ooh, stringy. I'm gonna go with a pinch of salt just to season all that bechamel in there. And to raise next blood pressure. Beautiful. We're gonna set this aside and keep this warm while we go ahead and grill off that tri-tip. And now that our tri-tip has rested down nicely, I took the coals out of the offset, popped them in the old Chud grill here. We're gonna go ahead and put a nice crust on this bad boy. That motorcycle ruined the sizzle. Just trying to make sure this thing is nice and warm, and of course add some beautiful color. Don't think I've ever made roast beef out of a tri-tip before, but it ought to be pretty tasty. Beautiful color on that. Actually, I'm gonna flip it this side. It's hotter in the back. But now we're fat cap side down, so I gotta make sure I don't burn this thing, as I'm known to do. Smelling so good. It's also been raining all day and the sun just came out, and now I'm outside grilling, and this just feels right. And just as predicted, got that fat cap a little too crispy, but I'm okay with it. I think it should add some really nice flavor, because this is gonna be sliced super thin. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Get the edges as well, because we don't want to forget the sides. Come on. And then off it comes. Fresh off the pit, looking absolutely beautiful, smelling fantastic. Let's go ahead and slice this thing in half. So with the tri-tip, as you know, we've got multiple grain directions, and looking at it, we got grains going this way and grains going this way. So I'm gonna cut this thing right in half, kind of right in the middle here. And that is looking very medium rare, if not on the rare side, but I'm okay with it. Is that too rare for you?
For a roast beef, that's pretty rare.
Well, the thing is, it's gonna get more well done on this end.
Yeah.
So it's only right here that's gonna be that rare. Oh, I'm Nick, things are too rare for me. It doesn't taste like krill, so I don't want it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a rare steak, but if we're going on the meat slicer, we're gonna bring that up a couple degrees because we're not all perfect, folks. But this grill is still plenty hot, so I got it offset over here just to bring it up a couple degrees. All right, I brought it up to 130 internal, so now we should have a better medium rare. And you could go ahead and just start slicing this as thin as you can with a knife. There we go, that looks a little bit better. But we've got a big old meat slicer, which honestly I'm a little bit skeptical about using because I don't think I've ever put hot roast beef on a meat slicer before, but that's what they do at Arby's, so we're gonna give it a shot. And hopefully everything goes according to plan. So keeping in mind the direction of the grain, onto the old meat slicer we go. Not gonna lose a fingertip today. Going against the grain. What do you think, buddy? Is that thin enough for you?
That's perfect.
Oh yeah, that looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be such a good sandwich. Look at it piling tall. This slicer is gonna need a thorough cleaning after this. Another close-up shot for you. So thin. Love the crust on the outside. Nice and juicy. And just like that, all sliced up a beautiful mound of some smoky, super thinly sliced tri-tip, ready to build a lovely sandwich. And to assemble, grab our beautiful, freshly made oniony bun and give that a slice right down the old middle. Beautiful squishy bun, gotta love that. I'm gonna toast this in some butter real quick. I mean, come on folks, look at that toast. Tell me that's not perfect. Love it. To build, first thing we're going down with is some of our little Arby's sauce. Don't be shy. Edge to edge. Looks like a pizza. And then we're gonna mound on our lovely smoky roast beef, making sure to get plenty of layers in there. So it's not just one dense blob, you know what I mean? Oh, it smells so good. Stack it as high as you like, folks. One more. And then to top it all off, our lovely, gooey, cheesy, melty little creamy cheese sauce. It's like a warm hug. Oh my God, this is gonna be ridiculous. So velvety. And then we top it all off. And there it is, the Chuds BBQ version of the smoky beef and cheddar. And there it is in all its glory, folks. A beautiful smoky tri-tip on a homemade onion bun topped with some gooey cheese sauce. Let's go ahead and dive on into this thing. What a magnificent sandwich, folks. I've been wanting to make this one for a long time, and it's finally here. Let's go for it. Yep. That is just a bite of pure happiness right there. So meaty. That bun is so squishy. Nice and smoky, but not too overpowering. I mean, that almost looks like a pastrami sandwich from Katz or something, the amount of meat on that. And that cheese. Ah! That is a lot better than I was expecting it to be, folks, not gonna lie. The fact that you can get clean bites out of that, right through that meat, is ideal. I was really worried we were gonna have bits pulling out on us like that, but it was just a perfect little bite right there. One thing I was skeptical about was this sauce. It seems like a pretty weird addition to a roast beef sandwich, but the tanginess, the acidity from it, really does work well with that rich cheese sauce and that smoky meat. One more. That is so good. And surprisingly, not messy. Nick,
Yes.
can I interest you in a beef and cheddar sandwich?
Yes. This looks so good.
I'm liking this one. I mean, what's not to like? 3 ingredients, right? You got a sauce, another sauce, and a bunch of beef.
Not 3 ingredients, but
3 components.
yeah. I took a bigger bite than I expected. Yeah, it's really good.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah. I had that red tangy sauce.
It works.
Really good.
It works really well. We were talking about it. It's kind of like a barbecue sauce, but like just different ratios.
Yeah, it was like a mix between a barbecue and a cocktail sauce.
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
And it kind of didn't taste great.
Right. When I was
But
making
on the
it,
sandwich.
when I made it, I was like, I don't know what it's supposed to taste like. We're just gonna trust the process here. But
Yeah.
like, I never would have thought about making that for
Yeah.
a roast beef sandwich. But
Yeah.
it works really well.
Yep.
It just hits all the notes. Fluffy, meaty, smoky, cheesy.
These buns are perfect.
These buns are great. Extra fluffy.
And the smokiness is welcome.
Yeah, not too smoky.
Yeah.
Which is great, you know. It's there, but it's not, I wouldn't call this a barbecue sandwich, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
a nice addition.
But even like a smoked turkey deli meat, I think sometimes it's too smoky. This is perfect. I
so
think
good.
it pairs well with the sauce and the cheese.
I will say, putting a tri-tip on the meat slicer was a little bit awkward because it's thin on one end, fat on the other, so trying to put
Yep.
the pressure on it was really awkward, but it worked out really well as a roast beef. Like,
Yeah.
the bite-through ability, the flavor is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is a great thinness. Like, this is perfect. Like, that is exactly what I want for a roast beef.
That cheese sauce also is not super intense, which is kind of what I was going for with the bechamel. And when you think of beef and cheddar, you think like that's going to be so rich and so heavy. But the cheese sauce is not as in your face as you may imagine, which is by design, and it really does kind of works well with the sandwich.
Yeah.
Like if we put queso on this thing, I'd be dying right now. It'd be good. The onion bun, definitely making those again. Oh, so good.
Are these like your typical burger buns? They just stopped it? They seem better.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Fresh yeast, maybe.
Yeah. They're like very fluffy, but like they're moist.
It's another one of those sandwiches too where the cheese is kind of like glue, just holds everything together.
Yep. And I like how the veggies are just attached to the bun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We do have veggies in there. I like it. Remember earlier when I called you and I said, should I get 2 tri-tips? And you said, no. That would be a ridiculous amount of roast beef. That was a good call.
Probably like maybe 3 sandwiches left there.
And with this very last bite of tri-tip roast beef, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make an absolutely fantastic smoked beef and cheddar sandwich. I highly recommend giving this one a try, you know? Those buns are probably some of the best I've ever made, and you can't go wrong with a smoked tri-tip roast beef. And that cheese sauce was creamy and gooey without being too overpowering. And it all came together for an absolutely fantastic bite. And definitely something I'll be making again in the future. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.